When we started, we believed that, this was back in 2004, that over the next 2 to 3 years, we thought we'd start to see TV-connected devices, and that there'd be a model for creating sites and apps that could go directly to the TV over the internet. But it didn't come. And when we went to build the 1.0 version of the Brightcove platform, we had envisioned being able to target personal computers, mobile devices, and TV sets. And it was very clear back then, when we really built it in 2005, that the market was looking for delivering monetizable video on personal computers, broadband users, which was growing very rapidly, and where there was a lot of audience activity, and where there was an established model for distribution and for generating revenue and so on. So the real focus was, okay, let's create a great experience on the platform that matters today, which then was the PC, and by adopting Flash as a platform to do that, we could do some really rich and sophisticated things that people hadn't really done in online video. It was just very nascent at the time. Where we are today, of course, is, as we heard about in the keynote this morning, the PC industry is collapsing. Touch devices are becoming the new dominant consumer device form factor. That's where all the major growth is happening in terms of usage and media. And we're on the cusp of that final realization of internet TV. And it's funny, because when I started the company and hired the first employees, they'd say, oh, this is an incredible vision. When's it going to happen? Is there going to be some new product? It's going to happen. I said, it's going to take 10 years. And because that kind of change takes about 10 years. And so we're 9 years in, and I think we're right on schedule. On mobile devices, you've got such a variability in terms of the network speed that users connect. There might be a really slow 3G connection, or even not even a 3G connection, up to an LTE connection, up to a Wi-Fi connection. It could be a shared group of users on the same Wi-Fi connection. And so you have a variability of the bit rate that's available to consumers. The way that Apple solved that problem originally was by creating HLS and a multi-bit rate, so you have multiple bit rates for your video, and then the stream can adapt to changes in the network conditions. And so that was a core part of, I forget which generation, it might have been the iPhone 3 when that came out, and the iOS update was HLS, and so the industry really got behind that. Android didn't have a streaming protocol in their environment. In the early days of Android, they said, oh, well, if you want to do video, we support Flash, and everything's in Flash video already, and so you can run Flash. But what people found is when they tried to create a Flash version of their content for Android, it was kind of slow, it was hard to interact with, and it was unresponsive. Flash had a way to deal with multiple bitrate, but Flash as an environment on Android wasn't a very good experience. And so that kind of left it where the only way to distribute video to Android in a browser was through the old-fashioned HTTP progressive download, a file that just progressively downloads. And in that environment, you don't have multiple bit rates, and you don't have the ability to adapt to the network conditions, and so it results in a poor quality video experience. That was addressed by Google in Android 4. They actually added support for Apple's HLS protocol. And so if you have Android 4, which is still a small minority, a lot of people are on Android 2 and on Android 3, there isn't something there to get high quality video delivered to those older Androids. So specifically what we've done is we released the Brightcove Android native player. So it's a native player and an SDK, or a toolkit, for people to create native apps for Android, native video apps for Android, that have rich custom video experiences, that can insert and manage ads into their Android content, and can include HLS support for older versions of Android. So if you want to have a high quality of service for all those Android users, we give you the full stack that you'd use, a player stack similar to what we used to do with our web players. There's now a native player for Android, and it supports HLS on those older versions of Android. So that's what we're doing. Until there was an industry standard just for video on the web, the only way to do video on the web was actually through proprietary technologies, so through Flash Player, through the Silverlight Player, et cetera, or the QuickTime Player in some cases as well. There was no such thing as a native built-in video player. HTML5 came along and added a video tag, and so that added the ability to have video. But what it didn't add was some of the capabilities that things like Flash Player and Silverlight Player and some of Apple's own technology provided, which is the ability to have full encryption of files. So that's full DRM, the ability to encrypt the file, put it on a server, and have a key on the client computer that can unlock the video and allow it to play for the user. So it's the highest quality of content protection that's out there. Right now, that's all proprietary. So Adobe has something, Microsoft has something, Google has something, etc. These are all proprietary technologies for protecting content. So what the W3C is doing, and this is with sponsorship from companies like Google and Microsoft as well, is they're saying, okay, now that there's industry standard video for HTML, we now want to add in an industry standard protocol for DRM. And so that's what this working group at the W3C has been working on and just issued their recommendations for that. And so I think what we'll see is, instead of having all these different flavors of DRM, we'll have an industry standard one that a lot of people can get behind, and that'll just lower the cost and complexity of offering premium content to all these devices. The big theme that I talked about today was all about connecting internet content and internet apps to actual large TV sets. That's where I think the next huge amount of adoption and velocity is going to happen. It is the natural home for video. That is what video is designed for. It's that full screen experience. And today already, unlike smartphones, before smartphones we had cell phones, but they were really not very good. We all have TVs. There are hundreds and hundreds of millions of flat panel TVs that exist all over the world, on walls, in conference rooms, in schools, in living rooms, and so on. And they're all capable of playing HD content and HDMI, and accepting HDMI content as an input. And so, you know, it's really connecting applications and software and content from the internet to those existing devices that I think can unlock a huge amount of potential for internet TV. And I think that's what's next. I think that's where we're going to see the next major wave of consumer attention shift, is onto the TV screen, interacting with that through your touch device.
Any thoughts of where Apple's going to go with this?
Many, many thoughts. Obviously, I think that we'll see a new Apple TV device. There'll be a companion device similar to the one that's there today, with more power and more capability, and the ability to use it as a game console, the ability to download and install apps onto it, and use it with any existing TV set that you have. And they'll take the same technology in that companion device and put that in a new, beautiful 4K resolution monitor that they'll offer as a consumer product as well. So you'll be able to buy the Apple TV for an existing TV, or you'll be able to buy a new TV from Apple with that capability. That's what I think we'll see, hopefully soon.
An unlimited number of programming channels would emerge from brands and from media publishers that would distribute that content directly to television.